You are listening to Herbal Marie, a podcast about herbs and home remedies to heal yourself. All advice shall be considered suggestions. Please research all herbs before using and discover ways to feel better and be well. Thank you for joining Herbal Marie on this herbal adventure. Together, we are exploring each card of the Herbal Tarot deck by Michael Tierra and Candace Canton. As stated in their wonderful book, The Spirit of Herbs, the Herbal Tarot is a useful introduction to the art of herbalism, as well as to the mysticism of the tarot. The symbolism of these beautiful cards offers us understanding on so many levels about the healing messages of our plant friends and how these plant beings can be teachers and healers of body, mind, and spirit. The tarot helps us to see the greater truths and guidance that dwells within our own heart space, that we can call upon for greater balance, helping us take responsibility for our own lives and creations. Through its symbols, our own inner knowing and understanding are revealed. Today, we are going to focus on one card of the Herbal Tarot and its featured herb. We will talk about its spiritual and medicinal properties, the dose and preparation. We'll talk about the key words and meaning of the card, along with its herbal allies. Then we will end the podcast with an affirmation. An affirmation is a vibrational prayer said over and over again each day so that a more positive and healing energy can be manifested for body, mind, and spirit. So, are you ready to explore and expand? Great. Let's connect with the Herbal Tarot. Today we are talking about the tarot card, the High Priest. The featured herb that we are going to get to know better is sage. Hey, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Herbal Tarot. I am excited to be here today. Yeah, I know. I always say it's been a long time, and it really actually has been a long time. This time, like 2 months. I'm so sorry about that. If you've been following my podcast, Herb Oracle, then you know that my life kind of went upside down for a little bit, but now we're back on track. And we are back on track with the fifth card of the Herbal Tarot, the High Priest. It's actually the sixth card, but he's number 5. Let's not get too technical about it. So we're talking about the High Priest today. And I actually kind of relate to the High Priest. In other tarot decks, it's called the Hierophant. But in the Herbal Tarot, we're calling it the High Priest. This is kind of the masculine version of the High Priestess. And I guess I relate to the High Priest because he is like his own spiritual teacher. And I really feel like I can relate to that, you know, like we don't need to find a teacher to follow, whether it's spirituality or anything that we want to learn, herbalism, whatevs. You can be your own teacher. Yes, it helps to have guidance and inspiration and all of that. But ultimately, you are your best teacher. And I often find myself saying, like in my YouTube live streams and things where I pull oracle cards, I find myself saying that I teach what I want to learn. So if there's something that I want to learn about, then I just dive right in it like the good little nerd that I am. I just dive right in there and learn more about it. Like if I want to learn more about crystals, then I grab a crystal oracle deck and I just start studying the cards and learning more that way. So that's exactly what we're doing here. I wanted to learn more about tarot. I wanted to learn the storyline and the archetypes. So I thought, hey, what better way than to teach what I want to learn? So anyways, that's kind of a little bit of the essence of the High Priest. It's a really cool card. He is standing behind, either the sage plant is massive or he is tiny. But he is a really cool, I don't relate to him physically. He's wearing a white turban. He's got a salt and pepper thick beard. We are talking thick with 2 C's type of beard. He's holding an ankh. He's got like a blue robe, but it has red in it. And he looks pretty snazzy. He's standing in front of 2 pillars, one light, one dark. So yeah, to look at him, he could be my brother for sure. Oh yeah, he could be my brother. So I don't connect with him through the eyes, but through the heart. I understand what it's like, to kind of forge my own path spiritually. I couldn't find one glove that fit perfect. So here I am kind of just picking and choosing and making my own thing for my own self. So anyways, we're going to talk about the High Priest today. We're going to talk about sage a little bit. And this is through this amazing book called The Spirit of Herbs by Michael Tierra and Candace Canton. But I did dive into the internet to learn a little bit more about the High Priest. So this is what I found. So in my research for the High Priest, the number 5 came up because it's the 5th. He is number 5. Number 5 is alive. Number 5 is all about change, conflict, and achieving freedom. So the High Priest or the Hierophant usually represents attaining spiritual wisdom. The High Priest is the masculine counterpart to the High Priestess, and he is all about doing the right thing. And the High Priest is also about knowing that all your answers lie within. So he's often been described as the bridge between heaven and earth. So when we get the High Priest in one of our tarot readings, if we get him upright, he could represent tradition, religion. He definitely represents conventional beliefs and spiritual knowledge, but it could also be conventional beliefs in any aspect of your life. He's all about ethic and rules. He could represent institutions, conformity. He could represent conformity, definitely spiritual wisdom. If it's a question about relationships, he could be showing you an answer that would represent traditional roles in love. Or it could be talking about maybe you have a mentor in your life. But the High Priest is definitely about conservative, normal ways, whether that be in money or health or spirituality. He's pretty normal, basic, conventional dude. And it's definitely a message to commit to your spirituality. Now, if the High Priest comes in reversed upside down, if he comes in inversed, it could be showing you that you have some issues with freedom. Maybe you don't want to be tied down. It could represent your personal beliefs and maybe even be encouraging you to challenge society, go against the status quo. He could represent someone in your life that's like an iron fist leader, kind of like that. But he could also be saying, hey, you need to follow your own spiritual path, where you need to be open to new beliefs. And yeah, when he does come in reversed, the High Priest could represent the situation where others just don't understand where you are coming from. They just don't get your spiritual journey. And yeah, if he comes in reversed, then he could also be saying maybe it's time to take some unconventional roles in your relationships. So yeah, either way, the High Priest is definitely a bridge between heaven and earth, and it's all about you attaining your spiritual wisdom and finding all your answers within. So let's cozy up with the book, The Spirit of Herbs, now and really get to know the high priest. The high priest, it's ruled by Taurus, and the herb that we're talking about today is going to be sage, Salvia officinalis. The high priest represents our own inner teacher. And I love that this is on page 33, master number here with the Herbal Tarot. The high priest represents our own inner teacher. After we have come to the end of our reasoning process, we must jump into the realm of inner guidance. The high priest is there waiting for us, for he knows what we need both physically and spiritually, and stands as the bridge between the two pillars representing practical and spiritual knowledge. The high priest is ruled by Taurus. I'm a Taurus. The sign of inherited talents, values, tenacity, earthiness, and results. So that means that the high priest uses all his Taurian capabilities in order to teach and guide us in a stable and real manner. He is that small voice we hear inside when we take the time to ask the question, to silence our minds, and just listen. He is practical in application of wisdom, and he is willing to live his life according to inner dictates. So I totally relate. Not that I'm like being like an amazing high priest for myself, but it's like the more we journey into our own spiritual journeys, we do realize that everything is inside of us. Everything. So I love that it said that, when they're talking about this small voice, when we listen to that, when we take time to just ask the questions that we desire to know, and not only just ask them, but we sit, we silence our minds, and we just listen. We listen for our own guidance, our own answers, our own intuition, our own knowingness. So I'm digging the high priest. Ain't gonna lie to you, sometimes like the word priest is kind of loaded, if you got any churchy issues. But when I look at it like this, when I look at the high priest representing our own inner teacher, and just that, it's just part of the process now. We've come to the end of our reasoning. Okay, we can't think about anything anymore. Now it's time for us to jump into ourselves, jump into the realm of inner guidance. So I love knowing that we've got our own inner high priest waiting for us, waiting to guide us in the physical and spiritual realm, and be that bridge that gaps heaven and earth. So let's talk about sage. Sage, what a beautiful herb. Salvia officinalis. Sage is the herb of sacredness here in the Spirit of Herbs, the herb of sacredness. So first we're going to talk about the spiritual properties, then the medicinal properties, and we'll even discuss the dose and preparation of sage. So the spiritual properties. The herb sage comes from the Latin salvare, meaning to save, attesting to its high regard as a powerful healing herb. Various species of sage can be found throughout the world. The herb has been burned in sacred ceremonies of the Native Americans for inner and outer purification. One method of using sage is simply to crumble a few dried sage leaves and burn them in a large seashell. Waft the smoke onto yourself and around the space that is to be sanctified. So spiritually, sage awakens the inner guide and allows a clarity of mind to be present. The sixth chakra is opened, and a feeling of greater centeredness is bestowed upon those who use this herb. Sage aligns group energy into a common vision, and for this purpose, it can be used as a smudge at the beginning of a gathering or special events. So I love thinking of sage energetically like that, and just that it aligns us all, brings us all together, aligns group energy, awakens our own personal inner guide, opens up that sixth chakra, gives us a feeling of greater centeredness. I mean, wow, go light some sage. Like, who is with me? Yes, please. So it goes on to say here in the Spirit of Herbs that the medicinal properties of sage is that it has been used as a tea or mixed as a spice into food to prevent and treat indigestion and gas. Sage is also useful as a treatment for bladder infections due to its antiseptic properties. And it really is, it's powerful medicine. It will help the treatment of colds, flu, and congestion. It can be used externally in the form of a poultice to dissipate bruises and injuries and to promote the healing of wounds. A cup of sage tea relieves mental and muscular tension throughout the body. And then some, like really, like we'll have to dive into sage, here at Herbal Marie soon, because dang, we could just go on and on about sage. It's such powerful medicine. It truly is. Spiritually, medicinally, it is just incredible. So the dose and preparation, here it says for smudging, take the dried herb and burn it in a fire-safe receptacle. Carry some of the herb in a pouch and smell the herb whenever you need to have greater clarity or just have greater clarity of thought or need to be protected and purified in a given situation. If you'd like to make a tea, take 1 teaspoon of the herb and let it steep in a cup of boiling water. 1 cup can be taken warm 2 or 3 times a day. Now just disclaim out the wazoo. This tea will dry up a mother's milk and can be taken for that purpose as well. Do not take this herb internally for more than a week. So easy does it with the sage. And speaking of drying up, I often think of sage for anyone that is really sweaty, like menopausal or whatever. It definitely is a purifying and drying herb for sure. But yeah, be notified, don't use this herb internally for more than 1 week. So one thing that I love about this book and this Herbal Tarot deck is that it always gives herbal allies. So if you didn't have access to sage, or you just wanted to know like what other herbs would also be kind of similar, the herbal ally for sage and the high priest is, get this, mugwort. And yeah, of course it is. Of course mugwort is the herbal ally. It too helps open up, that 6th chakra and really aligns. It really does. It opens you up to that inner guidance. So the herbal ally is mugwort. And the key words, just to review for this card, when you get it in one of your readings, is the keywords for the high priest is all about inner guide, all about spiritual guidance, teacher, right? That which stimulates inner awakening. So this is definitely a card about following rituals and rules, maybe with no inner sense of purpose or meaning. So if you're following a teacher blindly, or a guru or something, or just, doing rituals each day that don't really mean anything, this card kind of just says, hey, it's time to stimulate an inner awakening. Yeah, let's connect with our inner guide. our own spiritual guidance and be our own teachers. Whew. So yeah, there is much to learn and connect with the High Priest. This is definitely going to be a useful card to know about. I've been dabbling with this deck over at the podcast Herb Oracle on Tuesdays. I do Tarot Tuesday Tarot, and we've been working with it, and the insight is amazing with this deck. And I love that we're just taking our time here to get to know each of these cards a little bit better, a little bit deeper. And I'm just really loving the energy of the High Priest and Sage. So on that note, let's end this podcast with an affirmation with the High Priest and Sage. We'll take some deep breaths and we'll repeat it 3 times. And connect with that guidance within. Inhale deeply and say, I open my heart to the channel of wisdom within. I open my heart to the channel of wisdom within. And affirm again to yourself, I open my heart to the channel of wisdom within. And so it is. Thanks again for joining me on this Herbal Tarot adventure. And much love and many thanks to Michael, Tiara, and Candace Canton for creating these beautiful cards. You can definitely enhance your fun by owning your own copy of the Herbal Tarot and its book, The Spirit of Herbs. And you can purchase the deck, the whole set, the book and the deck, directly from the East-West School of Planetary Herbology by visiting them at planetherbs.com. That's planetherbs.com. And I'll see you again next time. Thanks for listening. Support this podcast by becoming a patron. You'll gain access to PDF downloads and Herb Nerd notes. Visit herbalmarie.com and become a patron today.